Hi, pretty little lifters. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I'm joined by guest Amanda, the founder of a Pilates studio in Maui called Madre Maui. And I met Amanda during my solo trip to Maui this past December 2024. I was looking for local Pilates studios close to where I was staying and came across her studio. I bought a 3-pack of classes since I knew I wanted to work out multiple days. And when I got to the studio, it was like no other Pilates studio that I've seen. It was so unique and it had a special feeling. It felt warm, cultural, and colorful, which is different than most of the other studios I've been to, which usually have a similar vibe. I really enjoyed my classes there, and I got to meet Amanda after my second class, and we had such an awesome talk after my class about fitness, Pilates, wellness, health, and how culture and economics plays a role, and how wellness is political. We seriously could have talked for hours about these topics. I'm so excited for you to meet Amanda and to learn about what she's created in Maui. Now let's welcome Amanda to the podcast. Aloha, Amanda, and welcome to the podcast.
Aloha, Tiffany. Thank you for having me.
So let's start off by having you give a brief little intro of who you are and especially where you are located and what you are up to currently professionally.
Okay, perfect. My name is Amanda. I own Madre Maui. We are a small boutique fitness, wellness, Pilates studio. We refer to ourselves as a radical wellness studio. We are located in the Napili neighborhood in Lahaina, Maui of the occupied Hawaiian Kingdom. We are in Hawaii, a beautiful place where I met you. Currently, let's see, what are we up to? Grinding out every day, showing up, teaching. We are still in survival mode post Lahaina fire. It is still a struggle in West Maui. If you're unfamiliar with what happened, we survived the deadliest fire in the United States. United States, I say, because we're grouped into that, but we also want to honor the fact that this is occupied land and the United States should not be here, should not own it. I myself am a settler here. So we are teaching Pilates, teaching fitness every day, and also doing mutual aid in the community and trying to show up in a truly holistic wellness practice.
So I found your studio when I was visiting Maui on my first solo trip, and I did a whole podcast episode about this solo trip, and this was in December 2024. I was staying in the Lahaina area, and I was searching for Pilates studios, and there actually wasn't too many in the area that I was staying in. And I came across Madre Maui, and I was just like, wait a minute, like, what is this? I was so excited. And I remember looking at pictures online, and I was just like, this looks so different than what I'm used to back home in LA. Even just like the colors, the neon, just like the vibe and everything I saw, it was so interesting. And even on your website, like everything that I read, I was like, whoa, this is not, yes, I was like, give a little tour. I was like, this is not your typical Pilates studio. And I was just so interested. So I remember I bought a 3-pack because I was like, I'm going to go. So I was like, I bought a 3-pack to your studio. But I would love to know a little bit more about the story of how you first personally discovered Pilates and what inspired you to open your own studio, especially in Hawaii.
Yeah, of course. So I am one of the people that found Pilates with an injury. I was postpartum, super depressed, super down. I had 3 back-to-back pregnancies, and I was basically walking at a 90-degree angle for probably 7 months during the 3rd trimester, and then pretty soon after giving birth, having gone to chiropractor, doctor, acupuncture, you name it. I was trying it. I had 2 under 2 at home, and nothing was working. I basically messed up my SI joint and my lower back during the pregnancy. And I pushed my recovery too fast after my second birth. And that ended me up where I was. So I was moving to a different physical therapist. I got super lucky. He was a former defensive lineman for the Miami Dolphins. And he came in, he saw me, and he's like, okay, so I just did my Pilates training in New York. And he's like, and I just feel like you're going to be my first, fusion client. And I'm like, dude, I don't even know what that is. But, whatever you want to do, like, I'm open.
Yeah, you're like, help me
Can
out.
we get me standing, and I was used to, running. I was used to lifting, doing all of the things. So I was really struggling with not being able to move and process the stress of being a mother and, all of the changes that happen with that. So it was a really tough time. And then none of the treatments working and facing, potential like joint fusion or something. He had me walking within upright within 4 sessions. So I went to him every day, for a week. Within 4 sessions, I was upright, still in pain, still working through it. But I was like, are you kidding me? Like,
Wow.
just what in the world just happened? And having been, working with the athletic association when I went to college, being military, being around athletes, being around, fitness as a discipline, really, and never having seen or even heard of Pilates was interesting. I was like, I don't understand how I haven't heard of this, seen it, or anything like that. So I was floored. I was blown away by what he was able to do, basically given what I had gone through with other practitioners. And it changed the trajectory, of my career and of my path. I had recently left law school in my 3rd year because of my pregnancy. And so this was my new path. So that's how I found Pilates. I remained very naive about the industry until I was well into the industry. But yeah, so, that's how I got there. And then the studio itself, I spent my time having, managed other studios, worked at other studios, multiple types of fitness studios too. I worked at a gym, I worked at GNC. I've had all of the jobs, being a habitually broke person, you just have all of these different experiences because you're trying to make ends meet. And it was always a pipe dream, own your own thing, do it in the way you want. Being in this industry, and there's a lot of things that I consider unwell about the industry, and that really work against every bit of progress we stand to make daily. So, it feels like it's that constant tug of war. And I was like, well, I have a pretty diverse life experience, and then I have a pretty impressive academic experience. And how can I bring these things together? The reason we're in Maui is because my husband, my partner's job, brought us here. And, fortunately, what a blessing. But we can't afford a home here. We couldn't afford to, purchase here or anything. And I was like, this is my opportunity, because we have this small, chunk of change that we made off selling our house in Seattle before we moved. And I was like, we could throw it into a business and just see, what happens. And he was on board, because all good partners are with your dreams. Remember that. And, we created this. So yeah, we were ready to launch. We were actually supposed to open the week that the fire hit.
Oh my
so, just divine
gosh.
timing. Yeah, just, super crazy. We also, I should mention, because it was important to me, was that we had a blessing from a local family to even consider opening the space. I think one of the things with, conducting business, whether small or not, is to be where you're supposed to be and make sure that it's okay. I don't want to take up space that I don't need to occupy. Just being here is already occupying space. So it was super important to be in discourse and conversation and make sure that, it was okay. So once we had that green light, then, I was like, okay, my ancestors working with your ancestors, like, let's do this. And that's how we exist.
Yeah, I think it's so beautiful to hear you talk about this and really like have that consideration and just that awareness like, hey, I'm coming into someone else's space, and it's not like you're trying to dim your light or anything. It's just that like being mindful and being conscious of it. I just think it's so beautiful. We don't really see a lot of that. So
Yeah.
I really admire that about you. And one thing I love is that you talk about expanding your definition of wellness, health, and fitness. What sets your Pilates studio apart from others in the area or in general, like, here in the US? Like, what is your studio's philosophy?
100%. So the basic philosophy is that wellness at its core is a we communal project, right? It's in the word we, right? And it's important because when it's not wellness, and what's the opposite of wellness? It's illness. And what's that word? It's
Mm-hmm.
I, right? And it's not, I mean, I get there's nuance. We could go into, the semantics of it and whatnot, but at its core, it's that in our society that focuses on individuals, it says that, if you're not good enough, it's your fault. Everything comes down to you. You have the power to change you. And not that you don't have power, you do, but we're in a system. So we acknowledge that system and the social determinants of health are as important as the individual, and that structure, that society, our communities, and not just, the zip code that we live, but our government and our local governments, everything affects your individual ability to achieve or access wellness. That's how I operate from. And that is different, at least having been in the industry. That's just not something that is approached, and it's because unless it's done from a purely bubblegum marketing, we're community vibe and not real, like if it's performative, it's one thing. Performance can sell. If you're in it in your roots, you're gonna cause waves.
Yeah, 100%. And another thing I think that sets your studio apart is even on your website, you have like that sliding scale. You talk about different things. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, of course. So we opened even before the fire, the concept was sliding scale based. And that's because Pilates in particular is, extremely expensive. And we've seen Club Pilates, we've seen, Legree, we've seen these other things come in that create a little bit more financial access. But they're, some of them are Pilates, some of them are not. That's a whole other thing. But at the core is, who has access to movement, period.
Mm-hmm.
Who has access to fitness, who can go to a gym, who can have downtime, who has enough time to work out. And how can I create levels of access that create more ease for the people with the least ease already? And finances is one of the biggest
Yes,
things, right? So
definitely.
I would have never stepped in to any Pilates studio had it not been physical therapy in that first setting. Even if I had seen it, I would have been like, nope, that's not for me. That space is not for me. It's not going to work out. I'm just going to keep my ass on the other side of the door. Um, like that's just how it
Yeah.
goes. So I was like, how can I create a little bit more of an inviting space in all of the ways? And access, by finances is one of the ways we do that.
Yeah. And I do think that's so important. And I know you also have, because obviously it's Hawaii and there are a lot of tourists. I mean, that's how I found you. I was looking for a local place because I wanted to keep moving while I was on vacation. And I love seeing new studios when I'm traveling. But you also
Yeah.
have different pricing too for like your locals, right? That was something that I think I saw.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So locals get a little bit of a deal. And we've actually had to change, full disclosure. this is hard. It is hard to do business like this. This is not, I fancy myself. This is it. And, and I love to be able to compare the language that we use in strength training and physical fitness is the language that we use in activism. So this is strength training in a different way. This is resistance in a different way. And it's hard. It is not for, the weak-minded. It's not. So our business continues to have to pivot. It perhaps would have worked differently had we not had the fire, a natural disaster that completely changed the game over here, operated as another wave of ethnic cleansing in Hawaii. And, all of these things are factors. So I've had to pivot the original tier scale. And then I now have kind of a closed practice where locals in need know, or everybody knows that it exists, and then they let me know, or we offer it in the cases that we think that it is the right move to make.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And that's, I think what's so beautiful about your space that you've created. And I kind of want to paint a picture for people too. You can see in her video like this beautiful background and this space. But as somebody who lives in Los Angeles, in California, and I've been to a lot of Pilates studios, there definitely is like kind of like a cookie cutter like Pilates studio. It's just like very that the beige, the light, there's just like a certain look, like they kind of all start to look the same. And I think that was so different when I stepped into your space. Like there was just like, it felt like a warm hug. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but like there was just like so much culture and it felt diverse. And like, when you walk in, like you can kind of see behind you too, like there's framed pictures and you can just tell like, they're from different cultures and just like, I don't know, there was just this beautiful vibe. And I'm like, I have never seen this anywhere. Like you are one of a kind over there. And I love it.
Yeah, no, that gets me, wispy eyes because only certain people notice that, and every detail in here literally is done with intention. Every single thing, every little, what are they called? Tchotchkes is what my husband calls them. All of the little things have a meaning. And, those who are called to the symbolism or the feeling are going to dive deeper and see, maybe what are we saying there? Because we're saying something in all of the corners. And even if not, you're going to feel the difference of energy. So, we pride ourselves on that too, that even somebody maybe who doesn't have similar political views, etc., that I do, if they're able to come through that door and spend time with us, they're not going to be able to deny the hug that is the experience.
Yeah, definitely. So. And I mean, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I remember seeing like even some books, right? Some like different books and things that I was like, oh, this is cool. And it did feel a little more radical in a sense compared to what I am used to, here in my space where I am. And even here, in Los Angeles, we have, a big Latino population, and they're a community, we are a community that usually does not have access to something like Pilates. And I'm getting excited because like I'm seeing, like I saw a studio pop up in this city that's kind of close to where my parents live. And it's like the first Latina owned Pilates studio in the city. And I was like, yes, like, and it had like, the name was like, it had like a Spanish name to it. And I was like, absolutely, here we are. Let's take up space because we have to. And kind of like you were saying, like talking about access. And, I think that kind of goes with like the Pilates industry. So like, how have you seen the Pilates industry change since you first started? And like, what kind of trends are you seeing now?
Oh, the Pilates industry. I was just talking to some other people on the TikTok yesterday about it. I'm so old that that's how I refer to it, like affectionately. The TikTok. The Pilates industry for me is so problematic. Gosh, it's problematic. It pains my heart. It shouldn't be as complicated as it is. And as a personal trainer and as a person with a bunch of other training certifications, degrees, I at some point stepped back and said, you know what? Maybe the Pilates community isn't my community. Maybe the wellness, the radical wellness, maybe I need to find another community, because so little good was coming from those spaces for me. And being white presenting, right? So I'm half white. My mom's white. Everybody that meets me first doesn't recognize me as an other, right? So I get to hear sometimes how they're really feeling. And, we know what those feelings are. We know what those conceptualizations are. And now they're getting a little more comfortable with saying things out loud. But when I started, that wasn't the case. It was more behind closed doors. And let's just say that racism, classism, sexism, misogyny, bigotry, anti-LGBTQT, all of it, that's the Pilates industry.
Yeah.
A lot of it is based in white supremacy. And not that that's unique to Pilates. It's just, it comes with the territory, particularly because you have the class aspect of it. So I was really struggling as a member of the Pilates community, and just feeling like my nervous system in every space was like, was just not good. I want to say, like, what Club Pilates did is create more access. And there's a bunch of, we can have a whole conversation in Pilates about all the cons and pros, and they will waste their time doing that. That's another thing about Pilates. Pilates will waste your time having conversations that are really unhelpful if we have a goal to get to. So what I will say is that in 2020, when the Black Lives Matter movement started and became a thing, and COVID was happening, we saw the industry try to have a performance reckoning with itself of like, oh my God, we're racist. We didn't know. And so you did see some brands, some big brands, and some big practitioners, big instructors, try to pivot into more DEI. And you saw some people get some platforms and have some conversations. We saw some, Black Girl Pilates. I encourage everybody, if you are really interested in Pilates, you need to be following Sonia from Black Girl Pilates, because she's going to keep it real. She does not lie. Like, she's just an amazing source of information for our industry, especially in keeping it Pilates specific, which I do not. So, Pilates specific, that's your person, man. But we saw that happen, and it was painful for me because I knew that it was.
That's so interesting that you brought it up. Yeah, you brought up the point of just, especially kind of like these differences in like classism and like otherness, right? And people not wanting people in other spaces. And I actually saw this TikTok this morning, and this woman was saying how like when she goes to Pilates, she's like, I don't like feel like welcome, or it feels like mean girl vibes, or it feels like just like very judgy. Like there's like people aren't really talking to each other, only like the people you know. And I kind of did some reflecting, and I started thinking about like, because I go to several different studios in the area, and I was like, oh, like how many friends have I made or acquaintances have I made in Pilates? And I was like, not many, but then I'll go to my weightlifting class. And like today, for example, before this conversation, I went to go lift, and me and this girl were just chit-chatting, and she was asking me questions. And I was like, wow, like I only really get it in this space and not the other space as much. Like it's just the vibe is different. And when I was hearing that girl talk, and I was like, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. So that's kind of interesting to me.
She's not lying.
Yeah.
Right? She's not lying. She's not wrong.
Yeah. And I think there is like,
That's
Yeah, it
unfortunate.
is unfortunate. And I know right now it's very popular to be like Pilates princess. And I think it's cute. I love all things girly, but I also see what kind of comes with that. And I also see a certain body size comes with that. That's one thing that I think I have noticed is, some women in different body sizes and larger body sizes speaking out more, saying like, hey, it's really hard to find a supportive place that somebody's willing to coach me or not look at me weird or feel like I belong here. So that's kind of interesting too. I also recently was talking to somebody who does like pop-up events, and I was asking her if she was going to have one at a local spot that I, go to sometimes. And she was like, no, I don't think they're very diverse. And it was just a reminder to me, like, oh, yeah, like I forget other people have to think about that. Like if you're bringing a diverse community and you're bringing your abuelita too, you want her to feel safe. You want her to feel like, oh, what is she doing here? You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, wow. Yeah. Like we do really have to think about like you kind of mentioned at the beginning, like wellness is for everyone. Right. And that kind of goes with like on your website under your mission statement, you say, and I'm going to quote it because it's good. It says, we are here to disrupt the current industry with a simple truth. Wellness is political, period. Period. This is powerful. And I totally agree that wellness is political. I know people say they want to leave politics out of things. Like even in my job as a teacher, they're like, oh, that's not political. I was like, it is so political. Wellness is political and it's all political. So share why you included this in your mission statement, because I've never seen a mission statement like this in terms of wellness. And I think it's really cool.
Thank you. So yeah, Miss Nina Turner is her name. She is in Ohio. She is in politics. She says it best. She's like, whether or not you do politics, politics is going to do you. And that's it.
Yes.
That's it, right? Doesn't matter if you want to engage, you are going to be affected by the politicking that is done on our behalf, etc. That said, politics, there's a certain group of people that are able to say, I can stay neutral because they're not
Exactly.
affected, right? And ironically, we're seeing a lot of those people right now have a meltdown because suddenly they are feeling affected. And for, those of us who have either political or activist roots and not even by choice, like, a lot of this is not our choice. This is not we don't, as a child, go, this is what I want to do. Our identities bring us into it. We have no choice. We are the body of war. It happens on our body, to our body. And whether or not we're aware of it, that's one thing. And whether or not we want to grow into our resistance, etc., that's another thing. Just as we enter into the physical aspects of, do we want to enter strength training? Do we want to do the work? Do you want to do the work on the other side? And that's what we mean. Wellness is political, but some people have no choice to be in it. And then there's a swath of people that we really need to get into it, because that's the only way we change the landscape. That's the only way we become more equitable. That's how we become more safe. And it takes a commitment, just as any training discipline does. It takes discipline, just as any training discipline does. It takes heavy lifting, and, not everybody wants to do it. But the cool thing about the work, the cool thing about, the political work, is everybody can do it. Everybody can do it in some way. It is something that there is access across all levels, and anybody can, enter this space, and it's just a reality. It's not, I don't consider myself saying something groundbreaking. I'm just saying something that people know they're going to lose profit if they say it or if they enter into this realm. And that's a reality, and that's political. The fact that this beautiful studio, and I'm willing, please send me other beautiful studios around the globe, hasn't been posted by one brand, including the brands I'm trained in, that's political. So, that's what I mean. Like, you're not free speech for who. We can have all the opinions we want, but only certain people are elevated. Only certain people are cared for, paid, and so forth.
And you kind of nailed it too, even with your example. It's like, wait, like brands love working with studios. Brands love doing partnerships and pop-ups at studios. And it's like, where are they? Right. And I definitely noticed, like, I know when I started speaking out in 2020 more on my platform as an educator and somebody in the fitness industry, a lot of people did not like it. I lost a lot of followers and I was like, bye, like, that's fine. I don't care. But it was very, very interesting to see that, and really get people to know, like, all of this is political. And my job is, me working with children is, me teaching you fitness, knowing that some people don't want everyone to have this access to fitness. They only want some people to be healthy.
You're giving me chicken skin. Yeah, chicken skin, right?
Yeah.
Only health
the
for
health
who?
for who. And that's something we talk about, like, in my health class with my ninth graders. It's like, who wants us to be healthy? Because if we really wanted everyone to have fitness and health and access, and I understand people have to make money, I understand, but it would be for everyone, and we're not there yet. And I don't know how we're going to get there. It's going to take time. It's going to take people opening their eyes and realizing, like, other people are allowed to feel good. Other people are allowed to feel well, and it is radical. And I posted something recently too, that to me, lifting weights and, like, taking care of your body, doing all this movement that we do, like, this is so radical because it helps you up here and you start opening up your eyes a little bit. And I'm here for it.
Absolutely. And that's one of the other ways I think about it is that when you can put somebody in touch with their body and they can create an intimate connection with their body and themselves, they are able to root in, they are able to show up differently because they are no longer as worried or as needy of outside validation. And that doesn't mean that everybody that's in lifting or working out is doing that. It doesn't, because some people can
1000%.
disconnect and do the movement, right? And achieve the aesthetic and still be hollow and out in the ethers, flying around. But if we can get you to really value yourself and know who you are, then these other things can't occupy your body. And and you can't become a vessel for the hollowness that, we bear witness to every day, the hollowness that is reflected back to you when you walk into a Pilates studio. And listen to those feelings, right? So your body is this amazing, it's just this amazing thing. We are amazing. Humans are amazing. We're part of the earth. We're part of the stars. And I don't know how that's not beautiful to anybody, but your body tells you things every day. And we have learned to disconnect in order to operate and survive. And, our physical practices, our communal practices give us the ability to reconnect in the way that, Mother Earth and however you conceptualize it needs us to connect. Because once we connect in that way, then we can start to connect to each other. We can start to connect to the earth. You know what I mean? And then we're in it. And then we're valuing life again. We're valuing each other, and that's ultimately what it's about. So lifting weights, lifting heavy, lifting our voices, all of it's hard.
And we are here for it.
Totally.
So I know you've mentioned the challenges of having, when I was there, I remember you were like, oh my gosh, why did I decide on getting white reformers, which are so beautiful, by the way. But
Oh
what
my
are,
gosh,
they
they
are
are.
so beautiful. You can see them behind her. But what are some of the biggest challenges you faced as a studio owner, and what lessons have you learned?
Okay, so let's see. Obviously, there's the practical things. Going for the aesthetic. I didn't do sad beige aesthetic, but I did white reformers, right? Don't do white reformers, people. It's not smart. It's not sustainable. And thank God the studio is dark because they show everything. So there's those little practical things like that. The things that really matter to me are what happens when people who are used to other studios come in and they don't like us. So I get a lot of, people willing to argue with me, people willing to push back in a way that is completely random and, inappropriate, honestly. And not that that was surprising. But in a small place, right? The gossip, the coconut wireless, the aspects that the rumor mill. So we have a chicken place
Oh
next to
yeah, I remember
us,
that.
and they, the trash, people put their trash. You
Yeah.
remember this because I think this is hilarious, and I'm like, this is literally what people are talking about. Um, and the cats and the birds, they take the chicken bones out of the trash and they disperse them, typically in front of my studio. And so, what does that lead itself to locally? That I'm doing witchcraft and I'm
Witchy with your chicken
hexing people,
bones.
right? Like just what? So just really funny things that I wouldn't have thought about, but that come with the territory of being different, that come with the territory of not embodying the aesthetic of a normal studio and the behavior of a expected Pilates instructor. Because I don't behave in that way, not at any
Yeah.
point, not in the studio, not on the outs. The other challenges are practical. Like, it's super hard to run a business over here post fire. We are definitely still surviving. My business plan was solid. My partner, again, operates, runs, big businesses, and I've done multiple studios. Our business plan was solid. Even with the sliding scale, we had everything accounted for. We didn't account for a natural
Yeah.
disaster. You know, we didn't account for a genocide being live streamed.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things that I'm like, even with all of my experience and education, I didn't think about. And it shows me constantly that there's room to get more vast, grow and think and learn. And if anything, lean into your instincts and your gut every time, every time. Listen to your body. Your body be knowing the
Yep.
things, man. Your body knows. Once you can discern between your intuition and your fear, I mean, gate unlocked. So as a female business owner, it's hard because I would say some of the things that I've learned and accepted are not the most inspiring. They're not. It's a letdown, if
Yeah.
anything. And it's a reminder, like, find your people are going to find you, you're going to know who they are, you're going to know whose performance, and work with the people who want to work with you. Protect your energy. That's one that's hard for me. In the beginning, I was kind of very open, very giving in that healing, nature and capacity. And it's just not sustainable, particularly when people have nothing to give back. And I don't mean that as it sounds. I mean that as in the sense of there's
Mm-hmm.
extractive, and then there's
Yeah.
present. And you got to know the difference between those. So, if anything, it's always, for me, it's really peeling back. It's going back. It's like getting more dialed, but in a closer to the land, closer to your ancestors, closer to your body. It's letting all of the other things that I think I know about business, that I think I know about training, like letting those take a backseat.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
Which is hard because as a person with multiple degrees, you know, not putting all of that first is tough.
No, that's, yeah. And, you know, you are doing such an amazing job. I love watching you show up on social media and call things out and be disruptive and share your truth and share your beautiful space. I think it's so important. And, I know there's a lot of challenges and I think you are handling them very, very well.
Oh, well, I appreciate you.
So I have one final question that I ask all my guests. And what advice would you give to your teenage self and teens today?
So I have a daughter. I have two daughters, right? One is 10, one is 11. They're inching into that preteen time. And same with me. Girls, listen to your body. Listen to your body. You know when you're in danger. And you know when you deserve better. Find the girlfriends and the women and the femmes that bring you joy and lean into friendship above all else. Because it will carry you to places that love and lust will never, can't touch it. You will be sustained in the most positive, life-changing, altering ways by women, by other women who get it and respect you and don't make you doubt yourself. You don't need to doubt yourself. That voice that's asking you to doubt yourself is not your own. Don't listen to it. Love yourself. You're worthy right now as is, exactly as you are. You're perfect as you are. Find the things that bring you joy. If it's art, playing video games, do things you like to do. Don't care about being cringe. For real. You will look back and you will think about the things you didn't do because you were worried about other people. And you will realize you wasted time. Don't waste time. You don't have time to waste. You know, own being the perfect little being that you are right now. You're so powerful. You have no idea. They're scared of you. And just, you deserve to be happy.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh my gosh. You know? I feel like you just, like, my inner child needed that. I was like, oh my gosh. Yes, I mean, we all need that. And I think that's so important. And I think it just, like, makes me, I think of, like, girlhood all the time. And I'm like, it's just such a beautiful thing. And I'm so grateful that your daughters have you as an example, right? To just this strong, empowering woman. And I do think, like, as someone who works with teenagers, like, this advice is chef's kiss, you know, in terms of just, we all need this, you know, we all needed this when we were young. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's so beautiful. And I'm going to use it now at age 41.
Please do. I mean, you know, that's part of the work. And it's why Madre, the name, it's why, you know, it exists, because come on, y'all, we birth everything. We are the creators. We're the nurturers. Own what's yours. And I see that, you know, for my littles, and then women too, that, you know, carry those old wounds. And if we can just be like, you know what? Untouchable. Can't touch it. We're portals.
I'm here for it. I am here for it. So Amanda, where can people get in touch with you, follow you, visit you, give us everything?
Absolutely. So Madre Maui on IG, and we are Not Your Mom's Pilates Studio on TikTok. And full disclosure, I'm still trying to figure out that
Same.
app. I feel so lost. So, send me any tips because I am definitely the elder millennial. Like, what's happening? We're on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, you can email me directly at amanda@madremaui.com. And, in your dreams. Also, please, if you're ever in Maui, come spend time with us. We have a lot of fun. I know, I talk about things that are heavy on, I keep it on social media, but we, do it in studio too. But this is a different experience and you'll love it. If you have a soul,
Yep.
You're going to love it here.
1000%.
If you don't, you're going to go to another studio.
Yeah. And honestly, I do think that that's like the most powerful piece. And like I said, like right now we are on, a video situation right now, but like even just seeing your studio, like I remember what I felt like in there and I was like, oh, that was so nice, and I'm just seeing it. So it really is powerful. And I want to thank you so much, Amanda, for joining me on this episode. I am so grateful for you and all you do to prioritize equity and justice into your fitness business. We need more people like you. I think this is so important.
Well, thank you for your time. Thanks for having me on and, working with my schedule. And also, Tiffany, thank you for what you're doing. The wound that I meet in women every day often comes from PE classes. It comes from not being picked for a team, etc. And you guys occupy an interesting, very pivotal role for empowerment early on that changes the way the brain moves into adulthood, and it's so important. So what you do is so important, and I appreciate you as well. Thanks for spending time with me in space. I remember I cried when I was talking
to you. When we were together, right? We were talking after class, and we were both just really? Like, oh my gosh.
And that's, that's the gift of the we in 1000%. And I appreciate you for being authentic and giving that gift right back to me. That's mutual aid, honey.
1000%. And I'm hoping I will be back in July. So hopefully I will get to see you this summer and spend some time in your studio.
Absolutely.
And thanks to everyone for listening to the Pretty Little Lifters podcast. I'm so grateful for our guest, Amanda, for joining us on this episode. And I appreciate you making the time to chat from Maui. I know we are in different time zones. And like I said, I love what you're doing in the Pilates space. And I'm going to share Amanda's info in the show notes so you can support her and Madre Maui and go visit when you are taking a vacation to Hawaii. And I will talk to you next episode. Bye. Aloha.